Welcome back to Laurence McKenna channel. Remember, there are 58% of you who aren't already subscribed to this content. So if you aren't already subscribed, please hit it. We're trying to make lots of interesting content, at least on a daily basis on this channel. We're going for 100K by the World Cup. Can we hit it? The only way to do it is for people to share and go out there and spread the message. We're looking forward to making much more content, and I'd love to know who you think Newcastle need to sign before the window is over to help them consolidate results like this. Newcastle United have just finished 3-0 with Man City, and it's another impressive showing for Eddie Howe and his men. If you look back to the beginning of last season, well, I mean, this seemed 2, 3, 4 worlds away, and maybe even more than a couple of seasons. But since the takeover, since the overall air at the club has changed, since the tone, all those other things feel very different, and Eddie Howe has come in. There's been a bit of investment in the team. We're seeing how well things can go. Now, I will say this, I do think that Man City have left themselves quite vulnerable this season, and those vulnerabilities are very clearly picked apart by Eddie Howe and saint-maximin and obviously Callum Wilson today. That's a good and a bad thing, right? City are not, an invincible side. They are a fantastic team. And when I say they're not an invincible side, it doesn't mean they won't get beaten for a whole season. But what I mean by that is they're a side who have their vulnerabilities, and people will prey on them early on in the season, especially when they've got the likes of Haaland, who's just trying to work his way in. And by the way, the fact that he's just trying to work his way in and still performing so well, fantastic. But the point is, Eddie Howe gave very specific tactical instructions to this side today to be able to go out there and execute, to be able to go out there and go, actually, we have a chance here to do something early on in a season and put a marker down as to what we're looking to achieve. Could have actually been a win. Could have actually been something that most people failed to achieve against City in 4, 5, 6 seasons, because most teams roll over. Maybe City were expecting them to roll over, or maybe they were expecting an easy win because they got one so late in last season under the same manager and predominantly with very similar personnel. It's not like Newcastle have gone out there and replaced a huge amount of players, but they have gone out there and signed a couple of players that change things. You've got one more centre-back. They need another. They have gone out and, I guess to some extent, tried to improve other elements, but they still haven't improved that right wing. They need to improve the right wing of this side because it just stretches out any opposition side, stretches out anyone who basically goes, we can just focus on saint-maximin. Callum Wilson is obviously back, that's been fantastic, but they do need backup for him. They also need more midfield legs in there. If you bring in Longstaff on, I understand he's fantastic, but in the long run, I think you need more people who, maybe if they can't, they need to be game changers, is what I'm saying. You don't feel that Longstaff is a game changer, you feel like he's a consolidator. And there are plenty of consolidation subs that Newcastle have been making in recent seasons because they don't have the depth in squad right now. Kieran Trippier is fantastic in the width that he adds to the side, but maybe they need a left back. And Nick Pope is an inspired signing. He kept them in the game and at times kept them ahead in the game today. It's also great that when you've got corners coming in, you've got a confident goalkeeper that can come out and claim it. You've got someone who's able to be a fantastic shot stopper. And I get it, I think Dubravka is also great at that. But I think, if you've got a better all-round goalkeeper, that's great. You've also got someone who's got great accuracy in his long kicks as well, because we know he's been trying to do that for quite some time. And you also know you've got someone at least who is decent with his feet in the back line and can move it around. Eddie Howe clearly trusts him and clearly trusts this starting 11 that he has right now. But it's clear that they're also not looking to get ripped off by so many teams out there. They're also looking to have way more control in the market than maybe previous owners have had. And if you look at those other owners of other huge teams that have had takeovers, some of them have gone out there and splurged. I don't really feel like Newcastle United have done that. Now, part of the reason will be they will feel there is a tactical element to this. They will have people within the side who say it's best to rebuild teams at this rate and invest with this level of cash injection, right? That will be because, A, they will be being watched by, like hawks right now. A lot of people will be watching them and saying, if you spend over any level, we're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. But at the same time, there will also be people who are trying to take advantage of them in the market. And so Eddie Howe's got a difficult task. If you're Eddie, realistically, you are bought into the team because you're also a great coach of mid-level players and you're looking to prove yourself. So there's a long-term turnover project here that you can get invested in. That's fantastic if you're Eddie Howe. You know what you're good at, you know you've got time to do it, but you also know that if you're coaching this team up and you're showing seeds of what is improving, then great, that's brilliant. You also know that come the World Cup, which is November, roughly halfway through the season, roughly, you've got a point where you can stop, coach the players, tell them what they've been doing wrong early on in the season, tell them where they can improve, but also you've got pretty much a layover until the January transfer window when your team can spend a little bit more. It's going to be putting little pieces in here and there. I imagine that they will be trying to get a few more pieces in before the transfer window closes. They didn't want Maddison because Maddison's going into new contract talks, but also he was expensive for 60 million. They didn't want to overspend on certain players, and they didn't want to get sucked into stupid negotiations with other sides. They just haven't. Maybe they don't have the resource to do that right now. Maybe they don't have the know-how, or maybe they've actually got a smart team of analysts who go, we're just not going to spend that. So it's interesting to see how Newcastle United are building forward and how they are already going toe-to-toe with so many top sides. They pegged a lot of teams back last season, towards the end of last season. There is clearly an upward trajectory, and Eddie Howe is the catalyst for that, along with, obviously, the huge amount of spending they've done so far. But what's even more interesting about it is you're seeing players change from being these kind of mid-level players or players who most people felt weren't particularly of quality to performing at their apex, performing at their very best. Callum Wilson up there, it's been fantastic. I feel like Callum Wilson is, when he is fit, he's fantastic. But the real element with him that obviously a lot of people go, goal scorer, back to goal, turn, shoot, score. There are other elements to it. He held the ball up really well today in that kind of midfield transitional area where Newcastle need to hold it up. That allows other people like Joe Linton to play off him, Maximin to play off him, whoever you want to have, maybe Almiron to play off him. You've also got players like Almiron who did perform in today's game. You've also got plenty of other fringe players who will feel engaged by the fact they're coming on to consolidate a Man City, I don't want to say comeback, but try to keep Man City out right until the end of the game. Longstaff is a great element for that. He's a local lad, and you always want to keep those kind of players in the team. Maybe they won't keep his brother in it, but if you keep one Longstaff, fantastic. You're also looking at making sure there's going to be fresh legs, and you're also probably looking at the fact that you're only focusing on the Premier League this season. I get it. Maybe Eddie Howe wants to be the first guy to have a good cup run or something like that. Newcastle probably need to focus on climbing the league right now. And I get it, like getting an FA Cup would be great or any of these things, but realistically, there are, maybe he can pull it off in a one-off game, but I still think there are bigger goals, bigger fish to fry at Man City right now than just winning whatever. A huge element is also becoming St James's Park. Players internationally will not have seen an atmosphere like that. I don't think City necessarily will have seen too many atmospheres like that in their time. That's Champions League level atmosphere on a Sunday afternoon because the fans know how grateful they should be for this side. They've been made to be grateful by previous regimes. And that is a huge consolidator again for Eddie Howe. Players will be attracted to playing in that. Players will watch that on TV and go, black and white flags everywhere, black and white kits everywhere. People love the players. People are grateful for those kind of things. People remember that kind of thing mixed with cash that I can get paid. It's the greatest balance you can have. So it's not going to make it difficult for them to sign players in terms of attracting people to the club, but it is going to add something as well in these big games where people basically go, oh, we used to be able to go there and just roll over under Steve Bruce, but now, not so much. I get it. I'll finish on this. I do think Man City have vulnerabilities. I do think people are going to try and prey on them this season. And I think they aren't the only side in the Premier League to have those. I think most teams in the Premier League have got their vulnerabilities early on. Eddie Howe did that fantastically. He exposed them. They got counter-attacked on. Not only that, but even when Newcastle did have more possession, or at least a better lion's share of the possession within 5 minutes, they capitalised on that. They capitalised on Kyle Walker at right back. They capitalised on Ake starting the game. These are all tiny tactical changes that you probably wouldn't have seen Steve Bruce particularly going for in his previous iteration. You probably wouldn't see Steve Bruce going for them now. The point is, when you see Man City, you think invincible, or at least you think close to that. Today, they made them look extremely fallible. They played them at their own game. And in every part of the pitch, there was at least a competitive element to each of those levels. You can't say that for many other Premier League teams right now. A lot of them roll over. A lot of them don't want to get engaged with Man City because they feel that if they do get engaged, well, what happens after that? And in the bigger picture, Eddie Howe is showing there is a project here that people can get invested in. Shows the board, if you invest in this tactically, I can keep up with all these guys. But if you're a player outside of this and you want to come in, brilliant. You will come into a project which can take on Man City, which can take on Liverpool, which can take on the big boys. And interestingly, if you compare that to other managers, maybe your Gerrards, maybe your Lampards, probably your Graham Potters as well, it puts him at the top of that bubble of managers, puts him up there with the Graham Potters, puts him up there with other managers who are competing every week in the Premier League and ultimately have a goal of competing in Europe if they get enough investment. The great thing for him is he's also the manager who will get the most investment and will probably get the most out of that investment as well, because they're going to get better facilities. They're going to get all these kind of things. Villa will have felt that they would have been level with Newcastle at some point, but now that they've got Eddie Howe, that pushes them ahead in that race. So, do you back Eddie Howe this season? Do you think that Eddie Howe finishes ahead of Aston Villa? Do you think that he finishes behind someone like West Ham, or do you think he finishes ahead of them? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.